Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. My name is Chris Taylor. I'm our Marketing Communications Manager here for the Trimble MEP division, and we'll be joined by Randy Swaim, who will be our presenter today on our Taking Engineering Models to Fabrication webinar. This one specifically looking at the HVAC side of the workflow. We do have another webinar in an hour that focuses a little bit more on the mechanical side. Wanted to thank everyone for jumping on, and I'm going to introduce us here, kind of kick off our agenda, and then I will turn things over to Randy for the bulk of what he's going to present today. A little look at what we're going to do. I'll run us through a quick MEP overview, kind of give you a little details if you don't know about kind of what the MEP division within Trimble is. Randy will kick off our main presentation, and then we'll roll into questions. I do ask that if you do have questions, please send them to me either over the chat or the Q&A function, and I'll hold those for the end and pass them along to Randy to discuss as we get to that point in time in the presentation. A couple housekeeping items as we kick things off. Everyone does enter the conference muted if you haven't already figured that out. If you do have questions, chat or Q&A, I'll be monitoring those throughout the webinar this morning. And we will be recording the webinar, so we will be sending that out to everyone that does attend and those that missed. And we will also be recording the one later on this morning on the mechanical side, and we'll include that in the wrap-up too, should you guys want to review that as well. So a quick overview of what Trimble MEP is. Trimble MEP is part of the larger Trimble organization. The group really started back in 2008, largely focused on Trimble hardware on the field layout solutions. Through a variety of acquisitions in the estimating space and the design space and on the data side with trade service, the organization has grown quite significantly to focus on everything that an MEP engineer or contractor could consume during the life cycle of a project. If you look at our footprint now, the organization's grown to a little over 700 team members just specific into MEP across 8 countries. We do have direct sales models in the United States, Canada, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, and France, and we use some reseller partners in the Asia-Pacific region. If we look at our portfolio of solutions, really the MEP division's goal is to focus on managing that entire life cycle of a project for the MEP contractor or engineer, from winning the job on the estimating side to doing the work on the design, detailing, fabrication side, and also taking that out to field to do the layout and installation. And then through productivity solutions on the project, asset, tool management side, we wanted to bring everything kind of home for the contractors and engineers as well. Really the main goal is to transform the way our clients work, from the engineers to the contractors, the suppliers, and manufacturers, and focus on really bringing technology and productivity solutions to those customers to help them do more with their business, win more business, be more productive and more profitable in the business they do win. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Randy, and he's going to run us through our main presentation today. Randy, I will share your presenter privileges, and then you should be able to share your screen once you get that.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. So I need to come up here, and I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. And so we should start out here with a little AutoCAD MEP screen. So in what you're seeing here, what we're going to show today is to be able to take the engineer's drawing and reuse his data without totally redrawing the job. A huge, significant saving in doing this by putting all the duct in the right places. But what we're going to first of all look at is in AutoCAD MEP, we have here the duct fabrication preferences. So we set up for each and every template this default file and the spec file that we want this to relate to. So that's been loaded up into this drawing. So when the duct comes in, it can be drawn to your exact standards, the exact throat lengths on the elbows that you want, so the correct gauges, the connectors, the locks. As we move over into the Revit model and we open up the Revit model, we've got a Revit model here of a little theater. And what we want to do is we want to bring the duct down in this model into the AutoCAD MEP. So to do that, I'm just going to come up to my view and go to my visibility graphics here and go over to my filters. So I'm going to tell it that I want to turn off, let's say, everything but the exhaust duct. So by going ahead and cleaning this up, now I'm going to have a much cleaner slate to work with. So I'm going to say I want to take this line right here. So just by tapping onto that and selecting that, I can now come up here to my add-ons and say I want to export this selection. So I can export this selection, and I'm going to say this is going to be the exhaust duct. So I can just type in exhaust, and I want this to be level 1. So we can just label that however we want and save that, and I'm saving it onto a little folder on my desktop called Demo. Now, if I want to get rid of this out of the Revit model, so when I come back later, I can grab other exhaust duct, I can just go over here and say, let's go ahead and hide that element. And now it's gotten rid of that out of the Revit model. As we move back into the AutoCAD MEP, I've brought in a drawing, a DWG drawing, with all the 3D equipment located from the Revit model. But now all I need to do is I need to come up here into my insert and just tell it I want to come over here and I want to insert a Revit file. So as I go ahead and grab that exhaust level 1 and just tell it I want to bring that in, it's going to go ahead and start importing that and assigning the specifications to those parts. They had no specification in Revit. They knew the shape, and they knew the location, and they knew what the object was. But there was no gauges, no locks, no connectors. In just a few seconds, you're going to see that exhaust system painted up on my screen. And it will have all the information with that as far as the specifications and everything that we've assigned to it. So there it's painted up onto my screen now and brought in that Revit model. The only thing it hasn't done, it hasn't broke that down into its fabricatable sections. So that's a step I'm going to take here and just say, okay, I want to go through here and I want to run a duct break, and I'm just going to select all the duct to run a duct break on. So that's going to go through there and break that up into my fabricatable sections, so when I take this into fabrication, I'll have coil line pieces, I'll have fittings, and I'll have short pieces. Well, we may want to go in here and police how the short pieces are handled, because the short pieces, the labor on a short piece is just like working with a fitting, so it's very expensive to have to build the short pieces. But if I come in here, I can just go to my command line and I can say I want to bring in a display theme to identify what type of my short pieces. So I'll go ahead and place that here, and now it's going to come in here and it's going to go ahead and show me the short piece checker that it will turn the short pieces pink. So if I move over here and where I see I've got a pink part right here, there's a short piece right there in front of that transition. I can simply take that short piece and select it, and now come over here and tell it I want to add that to that transition. Now I've eliminated a short piece out of that model. There might be some other changes I want to make in the model as well. I can see over here where they've used a couple of 90-degree elbows, a short piece, and another one, actually 4 fittings here to get to that spot. I'm going to just come in here and say, well, I want to clean that up. So I'm going to just delete that, and then I'm going to take, and I'll select that piece of duct and this piece of duct, and now I can go and choose the fitting that I want to put in there to replace those 4 pieces. I'm going to say I'm going to OG, offset, have that, place that in there, and replace 4 fittings with 1. So now we have this ready. We can come in here and say we want to do a duct part number for this. So if I come back here to my Home tab, and I want to go over here and tell it I want to go to my duct part number, and now I'm going to attach the numbers, and I'm going to tell it I want to do this by a window. So I'm just going to simply select all the parts, and tell it to go ahead and duct part number those parts. I'm going to come back now and add all the part numbers to the duct, and that's all completed now. And you can see here, these are all identical, so it gave them the same piece numbers. We could also come through here now before we take it into fabrication. We can come in here and say we want to go ahead and we want to add some, create some spools out of this. So I'm going to go in my duct fabrication palette by just going up here and saying I want to go to my fab palette, and I want to go over here and I want to do a duct spool. I'm going to go ahead and set a folder structure up in here. Well, I can say, okay, this is going to be my exhaust 1, okay? And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to define a spool. So I'm going to say maybe I want to take this piece of duct, and this tab. And I want to build those in the shop, assembled. So I'm just going to say generate me a drawing for this. And now let's go ahead and let's open that drawing. As we open this drawing, there is my piece of duct, 2 of them with my tap. All my schedules are here, but if I want to change that into a different view, I have total flexibility of how I want to see this. So I'm going to say I want to put this into an isometric view. So I'll just spin it into an ISO view here, and there we have that, and then we can say go and reconnect the bubbles on that. But now I want to know where I need to cut that tap in. So by just coming up here and saying I want to go add my duct dimensions to that, that's giving me my dimensions to where I need to cut that tap in, and I can send this out as a manifolded piece into the job. We can also come back once this is done. We'll go in here and we'll close that out. And now we have the ability to come in here and say maybe I want to place some hangers on this. So by clicking onto this piece of duct right here, we'll see there at the elevation that's at, I'm going to go ahead and say I want to add hangers. And I'm going to add the East Coast hangers, and I want to hang those from a certain elevation. See, so I want that top of that duct's at 112 feet. So if I come over here to my add hangers, I'm going to hang from 114 feet. And maybe I want to put a upper attachment if I have any trapeze hangers of an adjustable beam clamp. And I'll just hit OK and let it go ahead and calculate those hangers on out for me. Go ahead and click onto a different piece here and let it go ahead and add the hangers. So when we come back and we say add hangers, 114 feet, we want to put that there. All along run, unlimited, okay. Now, something not going with my hangers right now. Well, I'll show that here in just a second. But now we want to take this and we want to take this down to fabrication. So to do that, I'm simply going to come over here and I'm going to say I want to do a pickoff on this. So when I go to select the pickoff, I'm going to say I want to define the pickoff, and I'll just go ahead and select the ductwork that I want to send over. And now by going ahead and entering that, we'll have a pickoff file here. And now it's added my pickoff over to my fabrication palette. And now we can simply come in here and say we want to generate that file. So when we say generate this file, we're creating a file that can go to DuctMaker, to Vulcan, or to another third-party cutting software. So we can download your Vulcan cutter, or we have DuctMaker that is our CAM software that will power just about any machine out there on the market. This is also a Vicon link as well. So now that I've got that generated right here, I can come over here and go into my DuctMaker CAM tool, and I'm going to come up here and tell it I want to start a new job. And in this new job, I can give it a name, or I can just let it stay with the number. It's giving me a blank screen here. So I'm going to tell it that I want to come in and I want to import now that takeoff. So I want to go in here, and that was in my documents. It was under my pound folder here, and it was under the CSA Theater, and here is that pickoff file. I'm just going to double click onto that pickoff file, and that's brought all my duct over into my CAM software ready for nesting. If I come over here and hit done at this point, we're going to come over here and it's generating all of that into the takeoff, and now we can come and look at any one particular fitting in the CAM software. If I just double click onto that fitting, that brings it up and shows me that fitting. The fitting, and it shows me the blanks for that fitting and all of the pertinent data to that over here. Now I want to come back and I want to take this to the next step. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here and go to our layouts and say we want to go and nest these on the sheets. So if I just go ahead and hit the nest button, it's going to come through there and it's taken each one of those fittings and now exploded them and put them onto the sheets. Now that's ready to cut, ready to produce the labels on. This can go directly into your Vulcan as well. If we go back into the model at this point, I want to come back here and I'm just going to say I'm going to start a new drawing, and I just wanted to show a couple of quick features in here. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to draw some duct. So as I go over here to draw a duct, I'm picking my specification, I'm picking my size. And I'm going to say I'm going to start with a little larger duct and fill it here with about a 54 by 24 piece of duct. And we'll put that at a particular elevation. Let's say I'm going to go and check the elevation. I want that at 10 foot. It's absolutely fine. So as I draw the duct in, and I go ahead and place that down, I'm going to go ahead and say I want to come back and I want to transition down drastically now to a 24 inch. And I'll just drag that down as well. And now I'm going to tell it that I want to go over here and I'm going to change the shape from rectangular to round. And we'll say we want that to be maybe 16-inch round. So they go ahead and pull that out. Now as I hit enter, it's going to go ahead and break that duct down into its fabricatable sections. And now we're going to be able to come back and add the annotations to it. Again, here, if I wanted to get rid of a short piece, it's just a matter of clicking on it and saying add that to that transition. But if we need to change anything else, it all changes right in the model. So if I click to that transition, and I just come over here and say I want to change that set to where it's flat on the left-hand side, I'll just come over here and say let's go ahead and change that to 0. And now it's gone ahead and updated that, moved my duct, updated all my annotations, and it's ready to go ahead and add the hangers to. So if I go ahead and click onto the piece of duct here that I want to add hangers to, and then we'll just come up here and say we want to add the hangers. And now I can tell it different hanger arrangements for round, rectangular, and here I'm going to say I'm going to use some trapeze hangers on the larger stuff, and I want to put an adjustable beam clamp on it, and I'll just go ahead and hit OK. So now that's going to go ahead and execute my hanger command. And so now that executed my hanger command, and I want to take this into the object viewer and just have you look at the isometric view of this. You can see I've put some long hangers on there. But if we come down here, these are all trapeze hangers, and then these are strap hangers, and then we move on down to the round. We've got the round hanger single strap. So that's how we can go ahead and add the hangers to that. And then we're able to come back and go right here and say, now I want to go to the total station, and I want to go ahead and I want to grab my points and send these all down to the Trimble total station. So that's allowed us to go through here and import a duct system into AutoCAD MEP, assign the manufacturer's defaults, which is the geometry of the fitting, and the specification, which is the connectors, the gauges, the locks, the reinforcing, etc. And then modify it inside the AutoCAD MEP model as we see fit. So here we are back at our model, and everything is numbered. Elevations can be placed on, any annotation can be placed. You can modify connectors, but that's all ready to go at this point, taking it directly from Revit right into AutoCAD MEP. And I think at this point, Chris, why don't we open it up for some questions?
Absolutely. Thanks, Randy. If you guys do have questions, feel free to ask them over the chat or the Q&A. I know most folks are on computer audio. So if you do have any of those pertaining to what Randy showed here or anything else that may be applicable, feel free to ask those, and I'll pass them along to Randy.
And I'd also like to say that we're going to have another webinar on the duct a little later down the road that will show taking this model right back into Revit with all the intelligence of the duct into the model in Revit. So it's a two-way street on the duct. We can bring it in from Revit, do our work on it, push it back out to Revit with the intelligence.
Awesome, fantastic. And you guys should be getting an invite to that next week. I don't see any questions coming through. If you guys do have them, feel free to ask them. If something comes up after you guys have a chance to digest, you can always email us at meplearning@trimble.com, and I can get that question passed along to Randy. As I mentioned as well, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar. Should you have the need to re-review it or share it with someone else in your office, we should have that out hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. One question just came in from Joshua. Randy, what program is needed in addition to CAD MEP to export to the table?
Well, you're going to need to have the AutoCAD MEP 2015 or 16 in the East Coast CAD product. If you're downloading to a Vulcan, we produce that file. There's no additional charge for that from Trimble here, but the Vulcan may have a little file that you have to add that may be charged for that. But if you're downloading to the DuctMaker CAM software, there's no charge at all. You just need to have the CAM software for it to support it. And that's DuctMaker, Vulcan, or Vicon.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. Any other questions from the group? If not, we'll wrap you up early here today. We appreciate everyone jumping on and taking the time to join us today, and thank you, Randy, for presenting for us. Like I said, if you guys do have any further questions, you can always email them to us at meplearning@trimble.com. We do have one last question that came in here, Randy. Robert was just wondering if there's going to be any future webinars or learning possibilities for hangers and sending those hangers to the Trimble Total Station. They do currently own the software.
Yes, we can definitely set up some additional webinars, or you can just contact me direct at Randy_Swaim, that's SWAIM, @trimble.com, and I'd be happy to help you assist with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. I thank everyone for joining us today. And like I said, we are going to be kind of looking at this from the mechanical side here in about 40 minutes. If anyone has a desire to review that, if not, I will include both these webinar recordings when I send out the recap to everyone that attended and those that weren't able to. Thanks again. Thank you, Randy, and we will talk to you guys again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.